All right, now that you've gone and done some multiplication, what I was hoping that you would notice was a couple of things. The first thing that I hoped that you noticed is that in this multiplication, the factor was identical. And the way that I'm going to summarize this is that we could write a plus b as a plus b squared. That's what that means. So in other words, another way of writing this expression was 4 plus 3 squared. And then I was hoping you would notice some other patterns. For instance, when I did my final answer, you should have noticed that the x terms were identical. There were two exactly the same, okay? And also that number is the same as 4x times 3, or x times 4, 3m times 8. So if you wanted a shortcut rather than doing the long ways, these are called perfect square trinomials. The term is a squared, meaning that if I took 4x and I squared it, 4x times 4x, I get 16x squared. The middle term, double the product of those two things. In other words, if I did 4x times 3 and I got 12x and I doubled it, I get 24x. And because the last term is squared, it's 3 times 3. So these are called perfect square trinomials. What you should have noticed, and I'll just share the answers with you, this was x squared minus 8x plus 16. This was 16x squared minus 24x plus 9. This was 9m squared minus 48m plus 64. And this one was 25n squared minus 10n plus 1. And you've already done the multiplication there. But what I was hoping you would notice about this one is that these four are very, very similar. But this time, the factor that's repeated in fraction. So we would write this as a minus b or a minus b. Another way of writing that is a minus b squared. And so, for instance, if I picked another way that you might see this is 3m minus 8 squared. Once again, after simplifying, there is a shortcut to finding what those be. If this ever happens, the first term is a times a or a squared. For instance, 3m times 3m or 3m squared would be 9m squared, sorry. So in general, it's the first term squared. To get the middle term, once again, like up here, except these were subtraction, so you should have gotten a negative 24m and a negative 24m. So this is minus instead of plus like the top one. A times b. Let's check it out. 3 times 8 is 24. 2 times 24 is 48. This was minus 48m. And then the last term is plus. So these are also called perfect square trinomials. Because the first term is a perfect square and the last term is a perfect square, just like these, but this is subtraction instead of addition in this case. So these are really just shortcuts. They are shortcuts that will save us some time when multiplying. If you don't notice them right away, hopefully you notice them when you're all said and done, but you should start to be able to do some of these with skipping some steps, so moving towards going faster. I know no one say that, but as long as you can do them correctly, using this pattern to do a shortcut.